Right then folks, I think we're about ready to get going. If the last few of you can get your drinks and find a seat, and I'm hoping that Steve Slater's going to start us off on behalf of Booster. I think there's survey results to run through as well, but it'd be remiss, first of all, and I know it's the case for myself and for I think everyone here really, it's the first time we've been here since the news about John Blackwell. Just to mention for anyone that hasn't seen it, there is the book of condolence in reception, and the club plans to honour John properly before the first league home game of the season, so that's the Halifax fixture, on a couple of Tuesday nights' time. But just right to start with the news, if anyone's missed it, or the book of condolence of John's passing, and to offer up our thoughts to the Blackwell family. And with that, I'll ask Steve to get us underway with the Booster side of things.
First of all, welcome and thank you for attending this. It's something as an association we've wanted to do for the last couple of years, and thanks to Graeme and Lee for accepting the invitation to come along and give you an audience with Graeme and Lee. But we also think it's an opportunity for us to show you our and tell you about our results from our survey. We obviously try to improve things over the last 2 or 3 years and make the association more that you, the supporters, want, and offer as much as we can to you through the association. So we've conducted for the last 2 years a survey. The numbers have stayed pretty similar in the people that have responded to it. But I just want, Andrew runs that for the association as a committee member. So Andrew's just going to run through some of the key results from that, and then we'll probably just have 5 minutes just to tell you what we've changed this year in association with that survey. So, Andrew.
Thanks, Dave. Yeah, I think just there's kind of 3 key things I want to pick out from the results. Obviously, the principles of why we do it is to encourage engagement, obviously to support the most important people at any football club, and being open and honest about the supporters. The club doesn't survive, any club doesn't survive. AFC will do, but that's doesn't matter. So yeah, we did a survey of 165 responses, which was up on last year, but slightly disappointing when you consider we've got over 600 Buster members and 900 or something season ticket holders. So next year or this year when we do it, we need to do a little bit better than that. But I do thank you all for those of you that took part. The 3 things I want to pick out really: why do people join Buster? The overwhelming response, unsurprisingly, is to support the club. We know we've got great supporters. We know they want to support the club, so they're doing it by joining Buster. Obviously, the travel plan is another reason why people join. Again, I think our travel plan is undoubtedly probably the best in the league, so in terms of value for money, so that's a positive from that. Why don't people join? So again, this survey is open to all supporters, not just our members. The reason people don't join is because of the lack of benefits, so that's something that Steve and the committee need to work on and are working on. Obviously, there's a balance there between us serving all supporters, which we need to do, and giving members benefits, so that's the balance that we need to find. Interestingly on the lowest, sorry, I'll come to the lowest, different question. The last question, where do we want to spend that money? So we raise a good amount of money for the club each year, and what do we do with that? Do we just give a daily check for however many thousand we raise and then spend it on the water bill? The answer is that the supporters want to see something for that money. So what do we want to do with that money? At the minute, it's a mixture. We do have certain money that we give that is for specific purchases, but some of that is just a straight donation. The lowest score on that was to encourage and to boost the playing budget. Unfortunately, you thought we liked Graeme, but that's not what the survey tells us. But I think that is interesting. People don't expect the money that we raise from events, from membership, from all the things that we do to go towards playing budget. That is a separate thing. They expect to see purchase of facilities around the stadium and little things like that. So we'll take that obviously offline and talk about it with the committee. So yeah, those are the main 3 things really. Again, we'll do that again this year if as many of you can take part as possible. I'm much appreciated, and we'll continue to work on the benefits and members package throughout the year. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Andrew. You know, it does give us food for thought, and a lot of debate in our monthly meetings around what we can continue to do to improve the offer that we do. This year, you know, we took a major step really, because for 20 odd years we used to charge £10 to be a member of the association, and we've done that for a while. Then we introduced the gold membership for £25 and kept that alongside the £10. And this year we took a great step and done away with the £10. One of the reasons is, you know, we had more gold members, 3 times as many gold members as we had black and amber members, that more people was willing to pay the £25. And the other thing that we've increased really over the last 2 years, and David touched on it in his interview yesterday, those that heard the radio interview with the BBC, is that we've increased the number of families that are attending the match days and coming to the club. So we wanted to try and encourage that as well. So we did away with the £10 membership and we kept the £25, but we enabled people to sign up 3 junior members under the age of 12 with 1 paying adult. So you actually could have 4 members of the family sign up for £25. And those benefits for the under 12s, we've given their own prize draw, so all those children get put in a monthly draw. 3 of the 9 monthly draws will be giving away the experience of being mascot day experience, where they meet the players, go in the changing room, go out there, have a bit of coaching, keep the ball about, which is worth £155, £160 a time. So we've got 3 of those, plus we're giving the children a monthly draw on the other months where they'll get £25 voucher to spend in the club shop or around the club. So, you know, it's costing nothing, but we're giving that sort of total over the year around £500 worth of prizes back to those junior members. We've also kept the young adults, which is 13 to 21, obviously the students and people at school, which, you know, we're charging the £5 for still, just to keep those people engaged with the club, which is important to grow that. And hopefully they become members like a lot of you here, probably for the next 40, 50, 60 years. The monthly draws for the adults, we've got 9 monthly draws where there's a £75 voucher to be won and a £50 voucher. We've worked with the club on a Wednesday going forward from the first, as of now. You can come to the club and have 2 meals for £25, as long as you bring your membership cards and that with you to prove you're members. But you can also bring 2 mates, so 4 of you can eat a main meal downstairs for £50 working with the club. We've also got a pin badge this year, so every member will get their own identity as a pin badge, which obviously will change every year and keep to that. We've got an end of season shirt. We sponsor a player every year, and I've done for many years. But this year the club's changed that. We get paid the same as anybody else that sponsors a player. But at the end of the season we get a framed shirt of that player. This year it's Zach Mills. And we'll raffle that to all members. So everybody that become a member will get entered into a prize draw to win that framed shirt at the end of the season. And then obviously we're looking to put more of these events on as well. We don't really want to make these, although it's the associations that organise it, we don't want to make this a paying event as such, because we're not paying Graeme and Lee. Don't tell them that. Yeah, any of these you buy your beer, we don't. The association can't afford it. I'm sure somebody in here will. So we'll look to put these events on every sort of 5 or 6 weeks. Having spoken with Graeme's keen that we do this and engage players and members of the board and everything else with us. You know, we are the fans, so that's what the association's doing. If you're not a member, we can sign you up tonight or any time. Memberships run from 1st of August to 31st of July. As I say, we raised last year just over £40,000 for the club. This year we've donated already £5,000 towards the pitch renovation, Other supporters donated £5,000 as well. We've paid £4,000 this year for gym equipment that these guys want through the fitness coach and strengthening coach. The club come to us and asked, and we've paid £4,000 for that equipment. And we'll continue to work with these guys and do whatever we can to raise the money. You know, that is our main aim really. Well, two main aims is look after you guys, get as many of you away games as we can, because we think at £15 to go to Yeovil, Forest Green is great value. Peterborough fans last week paid £86 to go from Peterborough to Cardiff. You know, we're charging you 15 quid to come on our coaches, and it's not just a coach trip, we have a bit of fun on it as well. So, you know, we'll do whatever we can in the basis of which we can. But thank you for those that are members, but thank you all for coming tonight. I hope you have a great night.
Thank you both for your time. The plan tonight really is we'll have a chat with Lee and Graeme and run through their careers. I've put a few questions together. We'll intersperse some breaks as well, so if you feel like we're going on a bit, do let us know, and we'll get you another drinks break in. And then there is a question and answer session at the end, where we'll come round and get as many questions as we can. I think we said 9 o'clock haven't we, for everyone to get off and back to bed, so we'll see how we go. But I will start with Lee, and I'm hoping Steve hasn't just turned your microphone off. That's always a good start. So just running through your career really, and correct me as and when we make any mistakes. But first of all, Graeme has asked me to point out there's a £5 levy for every time Sheffield Wednesday is mentioned this evening. And we've been promised that that's going behind the bar at the end, so if we can try and coax as many of those out as we can. We will get to Sheffield Wednesday corner later on. But first of all, I got that you started out at Dunfermline, 2 or 3 low-level Scottish clubs, finding your feet in men's football, and then there was a move to Australia. How did that come about?
When I was younger, I was released 2 or 3 times, lower league, and I thought I lost my opportunity in professional football, semi-professional football at that point. So I left school and I was working in the bank to play part-time in Scotland, but I've been released a couple of times. So I just felt I needed to change direction. I thought I lost my opportunity of it. So my dad had a friend who was a coach in Australia. My mum's brother and sister lived over there. I just thought I wanted to go see a bit of the world, and if we could pick up a game of football on the way, then we could do that. So I phoned the lad, invited me over. It was one below the National League. It was in Sydney, and he said, "Yeah, come over, train with us for a week. If you're good enough, we'll sign you. If you're not good enough, we'll try and sort you out. I call it the level that you feel you're ready for." So that was it. Jumped in the plane, 20-year-old, headed over the other side of the world, and it's probably the best thing I did in the career, to be honest with you. I don't think I would have got to where I have in the career if I hadn't taken that gamble, shall I say. It all worked out really well in the end, and the journey started from there.
Fantastic, and then there was a couple of Asian sides you played for as well, and you ended up playing an unofficial friendly against England just before Euro 96. I'm guessing that was probably the famous dentist chair trip, was it, you played against England?
Yeah, it's nice to see 1 or 2 younger faces in here rather than the Coogan range. So, for you young people, you've probably never heard of this dentist chair. For you people similar age to myself and Graeme, the dentist chair story. Yeah, Gaza, it was his birthday that day. We had played England prior to Euro 96. They played in China 3 or 4 days earlier. Gaza played in that game. Got himself a little bit of an injury. He didn't play against our team in Hong Kong, but it was his birthday that day. So rather than partaking in the actual game, I think he enjoyed himself at the bar during the game, after the game, and we ended up in this Hong Kong night club. Now it was made out in the papers that it was like a 10 of an equity or something like that, but it wasn't. It was like a TGI Fridays type place that turned into a bit of a nightclub later on. So yeah, Gaza got in there and was like this over the party, started tearing t-shirts off his teammates. You've all seen the pictures. The worst thing about it for me was that obviously they got a lot of stick, but about a week and a half later he flipped the ball over the top of Henry's head when they were playing against Scotland and rifled the ball in the back of the net, and then proceeded pretend he was still sitting in the bench year after as a celebration. So I actually played against England in Hong Kong, and then a week and a half later I was actually at Wembley for that game. That was a wee bit of a sickener, seeing him doing that twice in the space of a week and a half.
I think you'd only lost 1-0 to England as well in the friendly.
Oh, a great chance as well. I had a brilliant chance, honestly. The ball's played over the top. I gave Tony Adams 10 yards at the start and still beat him to the ball. And by the time I can't say this joke. Anyway, I got to the ball. And does anybody know who the England goalkeeper was at the time? Suddenly appeared from nowhere. Make that joke up, you go. And I just was able to stay on my feet again, and he was there, and I tried to just lift it over, and hit his shin, went out, but that would have been the greatest moment of my career if I had been able to toe up that pass down into the back of the head. It wasn't to be.
And then, moving on from that, you then had time in the Greek league as well, one of the Greek leagues. I imagine there's probably some tasty atmosphere there, and another kind of culture to get used to as much as the football.
Yeah, it was a weird story that came about as well. It was actually that England game that got me the opportunity. So there was a Greek gentleman that his business was diamonds and emerald mines in Brazil. His head office was in Hong Kong because it was a cheap tax haven, but he owned his hometown football club in Greece. And he liked watching the local football in Hong Kong when he was there. And he'd come along to the England game, he'd seen myself, there was a Portuguese lad and a Brazilian lad, so he offered 3 of us to go out to his team. It wasn't right at the time, but 6 months later, things worked out that it was perfect timing to go over to Greece. And we were a small club. I don't want to be negative, but similar to the size of Boston in the league we're in at the moment. Probably battling against clubs with far better budgets, obviously, but the opportunity for me, for a little lad who had been released twice in Scotland, who had gone to Australia, had come to Hong Kong, flew out to Greece, and suddenly you're playing against Olympiacos or Panathinaikos or AEK Athens. It was bizarre for me in my head, but for a smaller club called Kalamata in the south of Greece, there's worse places to live in your life. And it was a great experience for me, so I spent 2 years there, and then actually signed for Dunfermline, the team that had released me as a schoolboy. So I went around the planet, come straight back and signed for Dunfermline. Around the world in 7 clubs.
And you said Greece was such a nice place to live, and it was Dunfermline that turned your head from that.
Yeah, my contract came to an end, my 2-year contract came to an end. There was a different coach in charge, I wanted to go a different way, and at the time I wasn't sure exactly what would happen, so my agent bizarrely arranged for me to go in and just train them without any thoughts of signing for the club, but I did well in training and they offered me a contract.
And I think it was 5 years you were there in all. The standout moment, looking at it from afar, was getting to the Scottish Cup final. I'm sure there are moments in there you're very proud of.
No, it was brilliant. I mean, when I first joined Dunfermline, we were in the Scottish Championship, and we got promoted the first year. The second year we survived. The third year we finished in the top 6. There was a top 6 split in Scotland. And then my final year, we qualified for Europe and we got to the Scottish Cup final. So it was a hell of a run that we went on, and I was really proud of it. And at the end of it, as I say, the finale was the Scottish Cup final. I was a sub on the day, but I got on. But after that, at 33 years old, I signed for a team in England. I'm not allowed to say.
I think we'll give you a free pass for the next 2 or 3 minutes with Graeme's blessing. It was obviously Sheffield Wednesday. There you go. One man only, that one, I'm afraid. Sheffield Wednesday, captain in the first season. Promotion from League One via the playoffs. Again, another successful spell. And I believe you were captain at Wembley as well?
Yeah, it was weird to get the opportunity at club at that age. Was bizarre for me, and I signed a 1-year contract. I think I would have only got the opportunity because of the back of it. The team in blue and white stripes in Sheffield had almost gone down to League 2 the season before. So the manager at the time, Chris Turner, decided he needed a full refresh of the squad. So he let 12 go, he brought 10 new faces in, and I was one of those that was given the opportunity. There was a lad called Chris Marsden, who ex-Wolves and Southampton, and came in as the club captain that year. And myself and obviously another 9 other lads joined the club. But unfortunately for Chris, he took a really bad hamstring injury about 3 months into the season, and tore off the bone, and basically his career was over. So the manager at the time, his dad, Paul Sturrock, came along, and he'll tell you about Paul Sturrock. Paul Sturrock offered me the armband at the time, and it was great. Really enjoyed it. We had a really up and down season, typical Wednesday season, shall I say, but it all culminated in winning that playoff final at Cardiff that year was absolutely amazing. It's probably the biggest in my playing career. I've played at the Scottish Cup finals, but to be there, do it, win it as a captain, it was a hell of a day.
And then injury meant that there was a young upstart that took the captaincy off you for a little bit.
So well, this guy came in as well. And as I said, his dad gave him an armband a couple of times. So no bitterness in this voice whatsoever. The season after, he got a pizza for 10 minutes ago, so he's ready to go. So we flip-flopped a little bit. Graeme came in, was made captain. When he had his teeth kicked in a couple of games, I was allowed to get the captain's armband. Got a few bruises on his head, a few injuries, things like that. But no, we spent time together at the club. It was brilliant, really good time. Again, survival in the championship was unbelievable for us at that time, because financially we were sort of, even for the size of the football club we're at, we were behind 6 foot ahead of the A-ball in relation to a lot of the other clubs in there. The chairman was a man called Dave Allen, who was, he had a few quid, but in comparison to some of the other clubs at that time, we couldn't compete. So survival was really important. We had some very good days, really good squad of good players as well.
And then it was on to Falkirk, and I believe there was a coaching opportunity there for you as well.
I went to Falkirk when I was 27, and they offered me a 2-year contract, so it was a no-brainer. At the time, the previous manager, Brian Laws at Sheffield Wednesday, decided to go for a younger group, and fully understood that. I was a little bit disappointed because I thought I might have got a coaching role at Wednesday at that time in the academy, but didn't transpire, so went back to Falkirk, played 1 year, and then the manager decided he moved on to Hibs, and the new manager took over. He decided to go younger as well, which I can fully understand, but I still had a year's playing contract that he wanted me to take on the under 18s, and that was the first step into the full-time coaching side of things.
And then you did get the opportunity then to go back to Sheffield Wednesday in a coaching capacity, caretaker manager on 2 or 3 occasions as well. But which of the managers you worked under at Sheffield Wednesday did you most enjoy?
I would have to say, on the coaching side of things, Carlos Carvalho was absolutely fantastic. We hit the post in relation to getting to the Premier League. Once the current chairman, I know there's a bit of trouble going on in the club at the moment, but the current chairman initially took over and spent a lot of money, big wages on big players. I think we took the league by surprise, to be honest with you. Carlos did a brilliant job. Man management was fantastic, tactically really good in that first season. But he was lucky he had really good players as well, and financial backing to go out and bring in good players. And unfortunately, we lost the championship playoff final to Hull 1-0. Really, for me, sliding doors moment of Sheffield Wednesday Football Club, because from that time on, we got to the semis again the following year, but I think from there it just started to drop away, and then we had actually spent a little bit too much money, and we got a couple of points deduction, which led to the club getting relegated back down to League One. So real sliding doors moment at that cup final in the championship.
And then the next opportunity was to be manager yourself. So top dog at Ayr United, you made it into the Championship promotion playoffs, which is a bit of a different system, I think, in Scotland, isn't it? Do you play the relegated or the potentially relegated team?
So took over at Ayr, the second bottom of the league at the time, and we survived. So that was a big bonus for that to stay in the championship. The following season, again, I think we took the league by surprise, and we ended up finishing second, which is the highest in 20 years or something, which I'm really proud of, which took us to the playoffs, but we got an absolute tonkin in the playoffs against Partick Thistle. We went up there, it was So we had a lad called Dippo Akinyemi who was at York last year, he just moved to Ireland. We signed him from, I think it was Welling, on £400 a week, and his apartment paid for, so he was on nothing. And he came up, he scored 28 goals and had about 12 assists or something, so we had about 40 goals, which is, we lost him the following year. But in that playoff, he was actually suspended for the first leg of Partick Thistle. We lost that game 3-0, so we were really struggling to get, and we had to really go for it in the second leg. We had Dippo back, which was a big bonus, and I thought, if we can get an early goal, then we're back in it, and the crowd will lift and everything. Within 10 minutes, Dippo got himself sent off. So that wasn't ideal. Then a minute later, we went a goal behind, so we're then 4-0 down on aggregate. We're 10 men, we're chasing it. But in the playoffs, it's like one of these things. We ended up losing the game 8-0 aggregate, but it was one of them that you may as well lose it 8-0 as opposed to 4-0. What was the point of shutting up shop in the playoff? We've got to still go for it, and you never know something strange might happen. We got caught in the counter-attack, we were well punished on the day, so that was a real disappointment on that side of things. But overall, the season is probably the best season Club's had in many, many years.
And having worked at that level and then come to Boston subsequently, you're probably well placed compared to most to answer this question, but having seen Jay Rowe, for example, move across to the Scottish Championship, how would you compare the standard of the second tier in Scotland compared to League 2 National League in England?
Yeah, again, some of the bigger clubs in the National League in England will blow your United out of the water financially. Your Yorks, your Forest Greens, your Carlisle, especially this year, clubs like that, Rothschild, Southends. There are players in the Scottish Championship that can comfortably play at this level, and there's loads of players in this league that can comfortably play in the Championship, stroke possibly at the bottom of the Premier League, some of the clubs. Definitely. The talent in the National League is phenomenal, and it's such a ruthless league, especially with the 4 down, 4 up type scenario as well, and only one automatically up. I think it's really harsh. You need to change that. But it's a fantastic league to be in, and there's so many similarities. I said to Graeme when I first came into Boston, so many similarities in relation to when I first went in it here. We had to rebuild a sort of multidisciplinary team is the trend we want to use for it, but just get more staff in to help the manager at the football club, whether that's assistant coaches or analysts or physios or fitness coaches, things like that. These things are so important if you want to do things properly in a professional manner. But trying to get it at that cost money, and I'm fully aware that we have to work within the parameters that we have to work within in relation to whether it be player recruitment or staff recruitment or anything like that. That's really. So any chance you can give us some of the money you collect? No, I'm joking apart. No, we're coming with our eyes wide open in relation to where we're at with budgets and how tough this league is in comparison to some of the clubs near the top end of the league.
And then finally, you came to Boston, of course. How did that come about? And was the league what you expected? I'm struck that you haven't had that experience in the non-league or the lower league of the English game. Was the standard and the facilities of our club and others what you expected, or has it been a bit of a learning experience?
No, I didn't expect the quality. One, the playing surface first and foremost is absolutely phenomenal. So Jim, he's a massive pat on the back, and thank you to everybody who contributed in relation to putting the pitch together. The stadium, the Jim's done a wonderful job here. Obviously, we're just missing one end, but that'll get there eventually. And AstroTurf, when I was at Grade 8, it was exactly the same. We had an AstroTurf training pitch with played on grass, so a lot of similarities. A lot of the clubs I've probably coached against or played against, because there's a lot of big clubs that have dropped out of the football league down to 11 now, and below. So there's nothing that's really taken me aback, but I've been really pleasantly surprised at the standard of player that's playing at this level and how tough this league is. As Boston in general, the biggest thing for me is that I'm not trying to blow smoke up your guys' backside, but we've been at big football clubs and everything like that. The club went through a really tough time at the beginning of the season, obviously last year, but the support, I think the big one for us, and we've talked about it so many times, where we were in the door, up at Halifax, away, we actually played really well and they went up losing the game 1-0, but the support that you guys gave to the, normally, as somebody thought I've been at, it's a mouthful of abuse and to support the players and the coaches and things like that, but the support and the real, you guys are going to be so important again this year in the exact same manner. And that really took me aback. That was the biggest surprise for me, was the support these guys, all of you guys gave to the players last year, especially on the back of a sore result, of a disappointing result. It's unbelievable. I think you guys played a massive part in our survival in this league last year. Genuinely do believe that.
And then final one before we have a quick break for drinks. Other than Boston, clubs to look out for next season, looking at business being done elsewhere in the National League?
Who I think are going to... I think Carlisle will be famous. York will be up there, they spend a lot of money. It'd be interesting to see what the Robbie Savage project goes like at Forest Green, at Rochdale South End. Listen, there's so many good clubs that are going to be up there, or expect to be up there next season. But for me, the big one to look forward to is the derby against Sunny. I think that's great, that's back as well. That's a great game to go, so I'll get 10 hats on for that.
Fantastic. Well, let's say we'll do all of the Q&A at the end, so any questions you've got, please do remember them. We'll have 5 minutes just to get a drink, those that want it, that were maybe here early, and then we'll speak to Graeme. Right, we'll get restarted then. It's Graeme's turn to tell us all about himself, which I know he's looking forward to. Again, we'll produce for your career and obviously flesh out the good bits, and we'll try and skip past the rest. But started at Bray Wanderers, and then a move across the water to Blackburn, who had not long been Premier League champions. Were you in and around the first team, and how many of that side were still with the club?
Yeah, I came out of the factories and came out of the council estate and went down to the Premier League champions. So you can imagine what type of scenario that was. A young lad, I just couldn't believe it, to be fair. I didn't believe it initially when the news come to us that they wanted to sign us. So I thought someone winding us up. But, it was a hell of an experience just to work with those type of guys and being around that type of football club. Premier League champions at the time. Just I was a big Man United fan as well growing up in Dublin, and just to see Man United coming to Blackburn, I was probably the only Man United fan in the family section where we were sat. So I had to obviously mind what I was doing and saying. But yeah, it was a hell of an experience. Some top lads there who taught us, who taught us an awful lot.
And from there, loan moves to Swindon, I think, briefly, and then Livingston, a move that you then made permanent. So another change of country and a new league to get stuck into. Yeah,
not quite as glamorous as me. It was England and Scotland. He travelled the world. I made my league debut for Swindon in the championship. I was only, I can't remember what age I was, to be fair. Not much younger than I was today. But, I made my league debut for Swindon, and then I had an opportunity to go to Scotland. Went up to Livingston, and it was a really good spell. Although you wouldn't know, I quite like the Scottish people, so I decided to stay up there. And it was really successful, it was really good. We got promoted, a couple of promotions, and we got into the SBL. Actually, the league was probably at Dunfermline at the time as well, so we would have competed against each other as well. And then, obviously, Paul Sturrock, I was desperately, a good lady was from England, obviously Blackburn, where I'm now. She wanted to go back down south, so we moved back down south.
And a couple of Player of the Year trophies, I think, at Livingston as well. You got a couple at your next club. It was Plymouth, so good nickname, Pilgrims, but wrong one for now. 150 games, fairly prolific as well, 25 goals. Now, I think you're the top goal scorer in your Division 3 winning team, and then won promotion to the Championship not long after.
I think that's 25 games, 150 goals.
All of them 30-yarders as well, actually, yeah.
I've done probably 200 games for Plymouth, so you probably need to do your research.
I'll tell Wikipedia later, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, it was brilliant. Look, it was a great time in my life. I had my kids, 2 of my kids were born down there. So it was one of them, I don't know, one of them horrible patches in your life where wherever you try, wherever you turn your hand to, it just comes off for you. I don't know how, there was no secret or ingredients or anything to it. It was just, I guess it was just hard had a great group of lads, great supporters. Boy, God, did we travel every game, and it was, oh my God, it was horrendous. You're coming back home in the night, and after a Tuesday night game, you're actually bumping into the postman and the milkman. It was ridiculous the time you were getting home from.
Were they coming out of your house at the time?
My kids got out of here for that. Less than that, there's kids in the house. Yeah, it was just an unbelievable experience. It was a brilliant time in my life, to be honest. It was probably 4 or 5 great years, and we going down there. Fair play to the club, the players, the fans. Again, you can't do that by good people. It was just brilliant. We climbed from I think we were 22nd in League 2. We climbed all the way up to the Championship, and we had a few good parties as well. To be fair, along the way.
And then it was a move, and this is where we get the crossover with Lee, of course, at Sheffield Wednesday, still in the Championship, and I think you were Player of the Year there as well, so you were ticking them off.
So I couldn't hear you.
Player of the Year again.
Do you ever get one of them?
Well, some bad.
Yeah, it was, it was another great experience in my life. We moved up to Sheffield, and we do like to travel. Myself and my missus, we like to explore the whole country, top to bottom. So yeah, local Crossroad was probably I actually went to the game, the playoff semi-finals away at Brentford, and then we went across to Cardiff. So we went over to the game, and I was just amazed with the size of the fan base. Sheffield Wednesday just took over Cardiff that day. It was crazy, it was unbelievable. I think when a club gets you, they get you. I'm sure they'll speak the same as well. It's just one of those clubs that get you, and it's just, you guys have had the same with Boston. It's just in your blood. And I really enjoyed it. My lad was born, and he then obviously grew up as a Sheffield Wednesday fan. My daughter played for Sheffield Wednesday, so it's one of those places that we've made home. And my kids love it as well, so once they're happy, I'm happy.
And after that you had a brief spell on loan at Burnley before moving to Rotherham, and difficult circumstances there, a bit more of a battle back in League 2.
Yeah, League 2 was a big battle, to be fair. You're talking about administration?
Yes.
Alright, yeah, the club went into administration, which was really, really tough, to be honest. It was tough on the young kids. A lot of young kids were only earning probably £150 apprentice wage, and then they did hire purchased cars and things like that, getting in and out of training, and the club ceased paying the players, and that was a really tough time for us seniors trying to get the juniors through. We lost a young lad who was a real talent, Stephen Brogan, and we had Mark Newsham actually played as well as Stephen Yates, and there was lots of young kids coming through at Rotherham at that time. We lost a kid at MK Dons, I'll never forget the day, he broke his leg. A young kid's career just like that, done, gone. He was 18 and he was a talented kid, he was spoken about in higher divisions. And it was probably one of the saddest days I've had on a football pitch, seeing a young kid get hurt like that. But yeah, administration, it devastated us, devastated the club. We missed out there, we were in the playoffs, and obviously the 10-point deduction, and it was a really tough time for us. So I do know about tough times, I do know about hardship, and when you're up against things. So I suppose that's where the character and the resilience comes from, and really when you go through times like that. But thankfully the club has come through it and gone on to bigger and better days.
And you say in terms of the on-field achievements, you'd done enough for the playoffs at Rotherham. You then moved to Shrewsbury, where you made the playoffs, and that wasn't taken away from you. 2 years, and I believe you were captain there as well.
Yeah, Jesus, yeah. Do you know, in football, you never remember the good days, you always remember the bad days. And again, the administration at Rotherham haunts me. Playing in the playoff final with Shrewsbury there, that was one of the worst days as well on the football pitch personally. You know, was lucky enough to achieve things and do things on the football pitch, but the memory, I don't know why, I must be just a weirdo. The things that stick in your mind is the games you lose, the games you miss out on, or one or two incidents like that. I should be full of happy moments in a career, happy moments. I don't know whether you live in regret or you wish you could have changed them or affected them or made them better, but yeah, we lost the Burnley in the playoff final, and that was hard to take as well. We were going away, he took the the kids to Euro Disney, and the missus took the kids to Euro Disney on Monday, and look, I don't know who was who or what was what. I was just walking around the place for 4 or 5 days in a haze, and the days like we were saying in the house, the arse is in the chair, but his head is elsewhere. That's just the way. That's just the kids say to me every night. You'd be talking to me when I come back after games, and I'm just saying, yeah. We go, you're not listening to that, eh? What did you say? It's, I don't know, you just get engulfed and football just, it takes over your life, it becomes your life, and it's really, really hard to concentrate on anything else. So I've been lucky enough to have a brilliant wife who looks after the kids and the family, and she keeps me right, she can keep up the arse when I leave them, and she sometimes snaps you out of those moods at those moments.
And then your final playing club or league was Southend, and when you then started your coaching career, across your playing career, was there a moment or a manager or a coach that made you think that's something I want to do, or was there a manager or a coach that made you think that's definitely what I don't want to do, as and when you take it up?
On both counts, Paul Sturrock, he it was probably Dave Hughes actually probably encouraged me. Dave was still in the manager of Newport, and he probably encouraged me to take up a bit of coaching with the Shrewsbury youth team. So I used to do that in the afternoons with him and the youth team, and the kids we got decent, we got a couple into the first team, and just when you see that joy of kids coming through, getting into the first team environment and fulfilling a dream, you know, you get a little bit of a buzz out of it, you get a little bit of joy out of it, and that's probably the first steps I took in coaching. And then the old man got hold of me, he just said to me he was taking over, so then just get your arse down, and that was it. There was no where you don't what you do, there was no discussion, we just rang them on Sunday afternoon, he said then get your arse down, and that was it, the phone went down. So I trusted the man, I loved him bits, and I just jumped in the car, packed my bags, went down, and next morning walked into the office, and he chucks a whistle at me, he chucks a stopwatch at me, and he said, how'd you go? You've got players out there waiting for you. I'm like, well, what do you want me to do, or what am I doing, what's the plan? And he just said, just put a smile on the face, don't go getting involved, don't go joining in. So 10 minutes later, he looks out the window, I'm in the middle of the room and out with the ball and all that. So, but yeah, that was my introduction to first team coaching, first team football really. I was a player coach with Paul Sturrock when he tumbled.
I'll let you say anything more about that as you want to, but moving on to Bristol Rovers, first as defensive coach, then caretaker and then permanent manager. I think you helped the club to League One safety and were looking like a playoff spot in your second season. How big of an achievement was it staying up, and then how difficult was it to then kick on?
Look, again, you can't do that, and I keep saying this, you can't do that without good people, and we had good people. We had a tremendous foundation, we had great lads in the change room. Getting everybody onto the same hymn sheet is really, really difficult. It's a skill, it's an art. And once you do that, it's powerful. And we tend to do that, we've got that. I mean, we've got a move, we've got a flowing at Bristol Rovers. But then as always, in football experience says, when you get things moving, you get things going, there's always one or two that want to put a spoke in the wheel. And that was something that wasn't good, it wasn't healthy. Looking at that, it was an 18-year-old, 19-year-old kid, and he wasn't good enough to be in the first team environment, but his dad was a head of recruitment, and his dad wanted him in the first team work. So you can see where I'm going with all this. It just become no. So we did Johnson Harrison recruitment, who I knew from Southend, we brought him in, and he was banging goals in, and obviously they were telling me that they were going to sell him at the end of the season for £1 million, and how do you replace that? So it all started going in a different direction because we were successful. Instead of leaving well alone, we may have got out of League One and up into the Championship, who knows? But it was just one of those things that happened, and we just had to shake hands, and so I just decided to move on. Really. It was a tough time, it was a great time. The lads were brilliant, to be fair, the lads were brilliant.
Sheffield United under 23s, again I suppose a different pressure and expectations. How would you compare coaching, managing in a youth development league to a first team environment? And what about that did you particularly enjoy?
I've said this so many times, I think it gives me a bit of stick. Naturally, they're probably biggest team in Sheffield, I don't know, that's a debate that we can have. But yeah, look, it was something that I done, it was something I was delighted, I was a little bit apprehensive at first, but I was delighted I'd done it because you learn so much, you can see football from a different lens, instead of being in the dugout all the time, or being on the pitch, or being in around senior lads, you can see it from a young kid's point of view, and the 18s, 19, 20-year-olds coming through. And it was just a hell of an education on how hard they worked at Sheffield United, the standards that they set, the analysts that they used to do, the way they used to work at the gym, the way they used to eat. So I learned so much about football there, and again, watching the first team as well throughout the 6 to 8 months that we had. I think one of our first games was against Sheffield Wednesday from the 21s, and Buddy was managing them. I can't remember the score that day, but yeah, we won 4-0. I wasn't 5, it might have been 5, sorry, told the lie. Yeah, but it was one of the best experiences, being yourself, managing in academies and managing young kids. You get so much of an education, and you get so much joy teaching and helping. But again, I'll go back to that key thing, you have to have good people, you have to have good kids, and we had some tremendous kids in that change room.
Yeah, I was going to come on to those that we've had at Boston. Marcus Dewhurst is one that we had out of one of your teams, Kyron Gordon, Femi Siriki, and then of course Frankie McGuire, who's still with us now. Were there any that particularly stood out for you then, or any that have gone on to play at the very top level you can rattle off?
Well, the one we had, listen, there wasn't anything to do with the one that caught me out straight away when he goes, Ilan and Joy. He's now playing for Everton in the Premier League. Daniel Jefferson was another one, Willis Sewell was another one. So they were the three guys that caught me right first and foremost in the group that we had. But they were being, one day they were training with the 21s, the next day they were training with the first team, and that's how good they were. Premier League, Sheffield United at that time, they were training with the first team. So I didn't get to work with them a lot. I was lucky enough then to take some sessions. I've known John Egan from being in Southend. John was the captain at Sheffield United at the time. I was lucky enough to do some individual stuff. A lad that we both played with, Paul Heckenbach, was the then manager. So yeah, it was a really good time. It was really a hell of an education. Seeing both sides of the Premier League, Sheffield United, and then in the 23s. It was a really successful season for the kids as well. And I'm glad a lot of them went on to have good futures in the game.
And after that it was Newport. Survival was a big achievement, but the thing that stands out, again looking from a distance at your time there, was the FA Cup run and ending up playing against Manchester United. That must have been a real dream for you.
Every morning in the car I hear this story.
Everyone have to listen to it one more time.
Far away, Manchester United.
What was the question?
What can you tell us about playing Manchester United in the FA Cup?
I didn't play. I should have decided on shouting. Yeah, look, the club was going through a bit of a tough time. They posted losses of £1.2 million, so we had to prioritise, look after the club, or maybe we were, I think we were trying to look into the playoffs as well. We had to prioritise. We were getting away for a team squad, but I think it wasn't planned. Let's have it right. It wasn't planned, but you win the first round of the FA Cup, you win the second round, and then I think you drew Eastleigh in the third round. And we're kind of going, well, look, let's prioritise the financial side of things. Let's get the club stable. Let's fix it, and we can maybe have a goal next season. So all of a sudden, we were driving down. I was driving back down to Newport, and the draw was on Monday night, and my phone started going. The kids are all in the back and they're Man United, lad. Okay, what they're talking about, you know, just driving, listening to Whitney Houston on the radio, you know. But yeah, they were all shouting Man United, and then the phone just started pinging. And are you still awake? Yeah, we got Man United. So again, the pressure on that Eastleigh game, the pressure must have been immense on both teams, Eastleigh and Newport, that's going into that game. So we managed to get there. The club managed to make a barrel load of money, and the new chairman decided to come in, and he wanted to take the club in a different direction, which was understandable. He wanted to go with academy product, young kids, and obviously we've seen the consequences of that last year. Probably we were lucky last year to stay up, but yeah, I had a great time there. The fans were, I compliment their fans so much for the travel and the support that they give you. The Newport fans were brilliant as well, and Amber Army. So yeah, the songs, I've taken one song from there, and I sing it here as well. So yeah, look, again, I keep going back to great people and great fans, and you can't do it without good people. And the Newport people were passionate, a bit like ourselves here, living in this room, passionate. They love their club. They just wanted their club to survive. And though the special days for Newport fans was when they were punching above the weight and when they were competing against the higher opposition. That's when they come to fruition, and that's when they really seem to grow 10 foot tall when we were playing against better and bigger opposition. And the Abbey Lucky have been really, really over the years, the draws that we've got in good competitions. That's not there, kept them afloat. And hopefully the new owner can keep them on and bring them some success in the league.
And then it was Boston, the story we all lived in and enjoyed last season. And I think we've all got an idea in our own minds of when we feel that turning point was. But when for you did you feel things started to turn the corner? Or did you always have that belief that it was going to end up in the right place?
There's many moments. I think Liz alluded to the reception that we got after the Halifax game. The game we played really, really well. But we didn't lose many. But the way the fans were after the game, when they made their job so much easier, we'd gone home to Carmen saying, hell, they just cheered us off the pitch. If we won that game, they just cheered us off the pitch. Now, when you go to the change room and the club's second for bottom, 11, 12 points adrift, there's a negativity around the place, there's a lack of confidence around the place, there's lads not being able, they don't have the freedom to express themselves. But I think these guys gave them that freedom, boosted their confidence, and really rejuvenated them, if that makes sense. After change rooms, we didn't have to have a pick me up session or a counselling session, I call it, with players on Monday morning. We didn't have to have a counselling session because these guys have done it for us. These guys have shown the players how much they taught them, an appreciation, a thank you, because the lads were running through big walls. We kept saying to them, you've got the fans on your side, they're on us, so keep them with us, and they're going to play a massive part in it, which they did. And look, I don't know, it was just a miracle really, let's have it right, it was a miracle. But again, I repeat myself, go back to good people, go back to good players, everybody on the same page, pull in the wrong direction. And again, we're going to have to go through that again next season. So look, let's hopefully we can build and we can grow and we can push on next season.
Fantastic. I think on that note we'll pause very briefly if anyone wants to get a quick drink, and then think about your questions for the Q&A section. We'll have 5 or 10 minutes.
You've already answered the question I was going to ask, but you keep on about the group being all together. When we went to Yeovil that night, I thought that team that night when they won showed really good team spirit, and I think that's what got us through last season. How do you as a manager, when you're recruiting, get players that you know are going to be good for the group?
Good question. I don't actually, I can't answer that question, can you really? You don't know what character. You actually take a chance, you take a gamble, you cross-reference, you use your experience, maybe a little bit of knowledge, you make phone calls, you can do all the background checks you want. But the one or the two things that don't show up when you're recruiting players is character, is resilience. What are they like when the chips are down, and what are they like when they have an argument with the manager or when they're not in the team. So all of that, you can't actually, that's not on their CV, that's not on their passport, as we call it, the football passport, that's not on that. You get games, you get goals, you get all that information when you're recruiting players, but you don't get the other side of it. So that's where you have to go and maybe pick up the phone to people who, I'm a big believer in, you have to pick up the phone to people who share dressing rooms with the person. So I do tend to, if I'm being honest, I do tend to hire for character over ability. I trust, I'm sure they'll be saying, you trust your ability, your coaching ability, that you can actually get them in the right position, walk their fitness, improve their passing, their possession, their touch, their skills, hone in on their skills. But it's very, very difficult to hone in on someone's character, and it's very, very difficult to give someone resilience. But I think they build resilience themselves. Just plenty of occasions. We touched on the Halifax game, we touched on, which you can tell about the Hartlepool game as well. where we were zombies. We knew from the first 5 minutes. We just had nothing in the tank. And it's, I suppose it's reaction as well. How do we react? Do we go off ahead? Do we pat them on the back? Do we tell them how do we pick them up? So there's a lot of things that goes into the mix there. But yeah, I tend to hire for character over ability. I will give me an honest, hard-working player that will run through brick walls all day long. I'll take that all day long, and I'll try and work and hone in on skills and qualities that we can maybe improve upon. I'm not sure whether that's answered your question or whether I was just rambling there for 5 minutes. I'm going to drag this out to 9 o'clock, so they will be long-winded answers.
Having watched Boston for about 50 years, I'm quite optimistic this year. Your recruiting looks pretty good. But you seem to have a lot of players. How are you going to keep them all happy? Because nobody likes sitting on the bench.
Say that bit again, the last bit. A lot of players.
Yeah, I said nobody likes sitting on the bench. How are you going to keep them all happy?
We had 15 training today, that's not an awful lot. Look, again, I suppose everybody wants to play, everybody's coming in to play. I would keep saying to the lads, you're not coming in here as a cheerleader or sitting here arse or be a bench warmer, come in to play. Sometimes walk the front is hell and the lads, circumstances, and you stumble on a team, that team gets an opportunity, that team gets a chance, the 10, 11 boys. If they give you back the jersey, then somebody else goes in and takes their position, their place. But I'm only honest with the lads if they were pure. So yeah, look, it's difficult to keep everybody happy. Yeah, I get that. But at the end of the day, the ball is in their court, the ball is in the players' court. It's what they do, and if they want to stay in the team, they work to what we're trying to do, what we're trying to achieve. They buy in, and they run through brick walls. If they want out of the team, they can slip a dummy out. We easily take them out of the team. So I suppose as a footballer, you take ownership of your own career. And one thing we drive and one thing we push into them is the standards every day. The standards we have to 1% more every day. And again, like we say, if you want to be successful, you have to be ruthless in the pursuit of success. Some players just don't have that in them, and they're the ones that fall by the wayside. And they're the ones that fall by the wayside. The ones where the running comes out, the stats come out when your back's to the wall. You normally see people's character and people's resilience in those situations. And a lot of players are all too easily wave the white flag. You kind of move them out. You kind of move them out of the change room and bring in the ones that can. Hopefully, I don't know, you say the same, would you?
I said the name on the head there. I mean, as I say, we've got a squad of probably 18. 2 are got knocks at the moment, 3 have got knocks at the moment, so we're training with 15 today. But what you want is to be in that team at the beginning of the season, and you've got a shot to lose. As he says, it's completely down to the players at that point. And there's various things that can get you out of the team. One is obviously your performance on a Saturday, 2, potentially a suspension, 3, an injury, or 4, your attitude in training during the week. That's all we can judge on. But it's important for the 4 or 5 guys that are on the bench, as the gaffer says, they spit the dummy, they're not getting in the team very quickly. Absolutely not. We had one scenario last year where John Richards got sent off in a game. We thought it was a silly sending off. He had a 2-game suspension. 2-game suspension. He thought he walked straight back in the team. But we had to lay down a marker to the other lads and said, hang on a minute, you don't just get sent off silly, you get straight back in the team. So it was 2 or 3 games and I getting him on top of that. The fight, the footballer George got back. And by the way, he was absolutely magnificent when he got himself back in the team. But it was a little bit of a message to the rest of the squad. It's not a case of just a little injury and then you're playing the next game week. It's up to the other lads to lose the jersey. So that's the standards you just have to set, even at the level we're at.
I was going to ask, with the current injuries to Jacob Hazel, and also we haven't seen the now John Lewis in pre-season, are we still in the market for another striker or 2?
Yes.
I think there was there's a Hound on the other side.
I take two if you're offering as well.
You two obviously got a great working relationship. Why is it effective? And what qualities do you admire in each other?
Neither of us are English. We have P45 to be. No, again, we're lucky enough, we do have that relationship prior to actually working together just now, and have played with each other, we both know what we're doing. I think the biggest thing for me is we were actually quite similar as players. I'm not speaking for Graeme, but I would say that both of us were not the most technically gifted players in the world. But one thing we did do, and what we tried to put into the team last year when we came in, we both rolled our sleeves up, we both fought for the badge that was on the shirt at the time, and we both gave 100%. Whether you're playing well or not, you give 100%, and that's the bare minimum we look for on the training ground now here. So from that point of view, having played against Graeme in Scotland, having played against him in England, and having played with him in England, I think the honesty that Graeme's talked about what we're trying to instill into the team, has come from him, 100%. I'd like to think I'm very, very similar from that point of view. And luckily enough, he's the one who goes up his head, and I can be the nice one to the players, and we can do that bad cop, good cop, scenario that we can get us through.
I thought you answered the question, really. I love the fact you can go to the bar and not spend a penny. I'd love to be like that.
This guy's the tightest out of the maybe we're bringing in a tenner.
I was answering my life. I get you.
20 minutes, I think. What's great about me, please?
Just go to a movie.
Next one.
Oh no, boys from the podcast. We can't. No.
If you want to turn the lights out in the next 30 seconds, we can get in there.
Yeah, it was no coincidence that last season when Connor Teal came into the side that we defensively looked more stronger. How important was the signing of him and Zach Mills to be retained this season? Being centre half yourselves by trade as well.
Yeah, listen, I thought Teal come in and did really well, Millsy as well. Although I'd like to keep as many as the lads we could last season because I thought they were magnificent. Unfortunately, couldn't. Fair play to them. They've earned themselves a little ticket to maybe better finances or bigger or better. I don't know how that's subjective, but yeah, look, the lads were brilliant last year. Teal's been a real influence over the course of pre-season as well. And the one thing I've learned or seen or noticed with Teal this year is he's taken up maybe a leadership role. He's grown. He's getting better as well, to be honest. Oh, thanks, that's words. But yeah, as a character, as a person, again, going back to the previous question, he's certainly in our mould. He's one that wants to learn. He listens, he takes on board what you're saying, and he is slowly developing into a real cornerstone of the changing room, not only on the pitch, but off the pitch as well. And he's a real good guy as well. He's a real good guy. Some of these lads in the change room, you don't actually have to tell them when they haven't been at it. They know themselves, and they hide their hands between their head when we walk into the change room. It's not always the case of us having to go off ahead at them, and sometimes you usually need to pull them on Monday and have a chat with them. But yeah, look, Taylor's been brilliant, and Millsy's been brilliant for the club as well. So hopefully the two can push on and have even stronger seasons next season than they did last season.
Can I just say, I think Connor's a great example of the type of player we want to bring to the club. It's probably a lad that's maybe had a couple of bumps and bruises in his career up to now. We're giving him a platform, he's grabbed it with both hands. I think he took a couple of knocks right between the eyes last year in relation to the standard of football that he was coming into and the physicality of it, and he had to sort of learn very quickly, and I think he has learned very quickly. And credit to him over the summer, he seems to have built himself up, worked really hard, he's come back and he seemed a lot more aggressive towards his role, as Graeme says, a lot more vocal in the change room now. And I think that's just confidence of his performances last year. He's done really, really well. We're very, very lucky to have retained virtually a spine of the team from last year, in Connor and Millsy, obviously Sloggett, Richards, Frankie, Dylan, and then Hazy unfortunately is injured at the moment. It was a shame. Obviously Cam wasn't able to come back in full time, but to keep that core of those lads from last season was crucial, I think, in our recruitment drive.
Anyway.
Going full time this year, what elements do you think, brilliant, I can spend more time on this or that? What do you want to work more on with that extra time with the players?
Well, naturally, the extra day, getting an extra day with the players will benefit us. Obviously, the gym work as well. I put a huge emphasis on gym work, spending more time with them, just analysing, presenting opposition, analysing the game on Saturday. But for me, yeah, listen, the training days, the extra training days is invaluable, to be honest. I think last year, we went through this period last year where we weren't really training. I think that was March, where we were just going Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday. I think we spent, what was it, 9 or 10 games, something like that, 11 games, something like that, in such a close, short space of time, so there was relatively no training. But for me, yeah, the training ground is so important. They spoke about the principles and our work ethic, and that's where I built on the training ground. So that extra day on the training ground and also getting them in the gym is vital. Full time, you can maybe control the recovery a little bit more and influence them a little bit more with the recovery. But yeah, spending more time with them tactically and technically is the most important to us, and hopefully that will benefit us and it will benefit the players individually. And who knows, hopefully we can push these lads on to bright futures in the game.
We'll look for, just move from that one, we'll look for 1 or 2 more.
How important is it to have someone who can deliver a long throw-in?
Say that again, couldn't hear you. Well, I think it was a key weapon last year. I think the key thing, I've been to watch a game here, Neil and Dave invited me to watch a game before taking on board the job. And I think the one thing that come away that day, I think it was Dagenham referee at home. I come away from that day, I think we haven't really got a definitive route to go. Now, if that comes from throw-ins, if that comes from set pieces, if that comes from crosses, however it come, or however we put a definitive route to go, we have to find one as a club. And obviously, naturally, Brad, you're talking about Brad. It's a great weapon. It's a horrible weapon when you're defending it. You just don't know where it's going. And again, we sometimes don't work off the first contact, we work off the second contact. And quite a lot last season, J-Roll would jump on the end of the first contact and maybe pick us up a goal. Now, if he didn't, and the defender cleared it, we're now in the correct position to pick up a second ball, continue the intensity, continue the attacks, keeping the team pinned back. I always use the expression, and hopefully it'll sum the question up, cause chaos in that box and keep the chaos away from our box. I just think long throws, we're lucky enough to have them this year as well. Long throws do cause chaos, create uncertainty, and ask questions of defenders. But again, as I emphasise, it's not always about the first contact, it's maybe about the second contact or the clearance, picking the ball up and keeping the team, keeping the defensive unit honest. So yeah, listen, it's a route to goal that we found last year, whether by luck or whether by chance or what, we found it, and it was so important to us last year. It helped us win so many games, and Brad had a hell of an assist record without actually scoring himself, but he had a huge assist record, so that would just go to show how important and how effective it was.
We've got 1 or 2 more.
One of the things I noticed in these few pre-season games is how somebody like Dylan, the young players, his physique, suddenly he looks broader, he looks stronger. How much time do they put in the gym, the younger players particularly, to get bigger and stronger and tougher?
more and more now that we've gone full time. I mean, last year's hybrid setup made it pretty difficult. A few of the lads had part-time jobs that they were having to shoot off straight after the morning sessions to go to the jobs. So being full time now gives, and as Graeme says, he's really big on that. Bringing Mark Laws in as the sports scientist has really helped. Being able to put a mini gym in near the changing room, which the lads are in every single day, morning and afternoon, for short periods. But again, it's still something that we were virtually unable to do last year. Small doses, but that's down the lads over the summer as well. Again, I don't know. Good game. Off seasons. What did you get up to in the off season when you played? No comment. Basically, it's sitting in a bar in Mallorca somewhere and drinking alcohol or something like that. I know a lot of players. Nowadays, the players, they honestly, they very rarely drink, and quite often in the summer holidays they go away to like fitness camps themselves and get themselves, Dylan and Frank Maguire went together to Marbella, I think, on a fitness camp. So, they lose the right bone in people. Need to get life a little bit, or they're dedicated to their profession and hoping to take Boston to the next level, or at least give themselves an opportunity to go to the next level themselves. So, yeah, I agree with you. Dylan has all talk. We talked about Connor Teal earlier, and slowly but surely you'll probably see a difference in a lot of the lads as the season goes on as well.
But then again, that's the gym that you guys have helped us build. You guys have contributed, and you guys have put that in place for us, yourselves and Dave. It's been tremendous in helping us do that. And small little things help so much. And again, like I said, the players and myself, the staff are so great. There's not many clubs you come to where the fans are willing to build gyms for the team. The fans are willing to help with the pitch renovations. It's a unique club with a unique set of supporters. And never, I spoke earlier on about last year's support that you gave us, but never undervalue that, underestimate that. That's so powerful, that connection between players, club and supporters. And I genuinely believe it was one of the things I really enjoyed about this club, the connection and the positivity and the togetherness that's been built up at the football club. Now, that's probably before my time as well, but testament to you is the hours you put in and the travel and the finance that you put in to help the team, none other than the gym. And I'm glad that's been of relevance to us and of importance to us. I thank you, I'm sure the players do before we forget, really, we thank you, each and every one of you that have helped and that have contributed.
Last year, Dylan and a couple of players had a lot of interaction with the young juniors, like the outside training sessions, and it really helped, I think, with that bond and bringing younger kids into the football game. Is that something you want to continue this year and build upon?
Yeah, Jesus, we used to love watching the kids over there with Dylan and all the lads. I think the lads were here on one of the weekends, Jim opened up the ground for them, and I think there was 90 odd kids out there. And it's just that interaction, that community coming together, and it was a great day. The players led that themselves. We encourage the lads. Not only that, but Dylan is obviously getting a little bit of an education for himself. As Scott, I think Connor Teal is coming on board with it this year. Jay Rowe used to help him. But I think it's paramount that the lads get out into the community. We'd love to do more, and we'd love to get out and get involved. There was things we loved doing as players as well. It was led a lot of that in the dressing room that I shared with them, getting us out into the community and mixing with kids. Because I think back when we were kids, we had Gaelic, Dublin was our team, the Gaelic and the hurling team, and then they come into the school and you were like, the kids would come in, they loved it. And that's all we understand the kids and the feelings, and they look up to these lads as idols. So it's really important that the lads do spend time in the community, and it's really important that, like I was saying, if we visit you, you'll visit us. And I tend to use that quite a lot. Dylan loves it though. Dylan he's a big kid, let's be honest. He's a big kid himself, so you can hardly tell the difference when he's running around all the nipples. He loves it. And every time there's an opportunity to mix with the community, Dylan's hand just goes, yeah, I'll do it. So, you know, he's unique, he's a one-off, he's a special kid, but yeah, he's proper, he's brilliant. You know, as long as you have Dylan, we always have that interaction between the fans, but yeah, if we can make it grow, and if we can have more days, more visits, more occasions that we come together, that would be ideal. Because as you say, it helps with the connection.
Fantastic. Well, I think we'll leave it there for this evening. Thank you all for your questions. Oh, we've got one more, sorry.
Of the players that left last year, if you could have kept one, who would it have been?
Mazel's brilliant. No, honestly, Gio. That's nothing against the fullbacks that were brought in, but as manager touched on, he was so effective in both boxes for us, and the amount of goals he got. I think he's a big loss to us. He's a massive boost for Ray Rovers up in Scotland, and I think he'll go up there and do fantastic as well. But I thought Jay was outstanding. It was so many pressure on the gaffer to name his one.
Can't say the same as me.
Please, brother. Listen, Jay, look, I would have kept them because I wanted to keep them all, really. I wanted to couldn't commit to full time and wanted to have deals and they'd gone off and earned them, fair play to them. But Jay would have been up there for me. Maz was brilliant as well. Again, Jimmy knows as well. Look, I can sit here, Brad, we could run through them all, really, to be honest. They all played Wardy. I kind of like Wardy. Wardy was probably one of my favourites, to be fair. So they all played a massive part, and it was really harsh of this year, and then one of them don't forget the couple of saves Cameron pulled off as well for us, you know. It's just unfortunate, and it's one of those things, but it's up to us to try and replace those lads, the characters and the resilience, as we spoke about, not only the skills, but the quality as well. But if we could have, I would have kept them all, but I think I'll agree with Lee for once this evening. I think J-Roll's contribution, it's very, very difficult to score in this division, very difficult to get goals. And again, that was another source, another route to go for. So J-Roll probably tips it because of his contribution, his goals contribution. So don't tell any people that I said that. Yeah, I'm only saying that to agree with it.
Stop recording.
Cut that bit out as well.
Well, it's just left to Steve to see us off, I think. Steve.
I think we've had a great night and great honesty from Graeme and me. Thanks, Christian, for what you've done and the output you've done. Just probably need to go up and get some of it right. And thanks to you for coming along and supporting it. We do want to do more of these events, and we will do more. And with Lester and Graeme and me, we'll get some players to come along and have a chat with a couple of those in the near future. But thanks for your support. If you're not a member of the association, why not? And it'd be wrong not to be pushing. All the money goes back into the club, and some of you aren't members, but you do give every Saturday, every Tuesday, every time there's a game, with goals, bring goal, and everything else. It's opinions and what you want to do. But thanks for a great night, gents. It's been tremendous, and hopefully we can build on this for the future. And we wish you all the best for the season, but I can assure you we'll be there for you. Thank you.